In this video, I want to talk about why we need to scan the intersection before we go through, and whether it's a green light, I'm planning on going straight through or making a turn. Too often I look at the students in my eye check mirror and they see a green light and they're just going straight through and there's no scanning going on. I tell them, like, how do you know there's no one passing through on the crossroad, right? And they're like, well, I have a green light, so wouldn't they have a red? And yes, they have a red, but lights don't make people stop. Drivers make vehicles stop, or they don't, right? So, again, this goes back to not taking things to the extreme. So when I say this, sometimes students then want to really check at every intersection, slow down at every intersection that they've got a green light. But what you need to do instead is look ahead and do a scanning sweep. And you might do a bit of a wider sweep if sitting at a red light and it just turned green. And so if you ever are sitting in my car and you're looking at me through the eye mirror and I've got a green light, what's going to happen is I'm going to do this before I go, right? So it's like a left and a right, and then I proceed once I know that there's no high-speed cars coming towards the intersection. And so this is one of those scenarios where we're coming up to the intersection with the student to make a left turn. We can see this, they have a green light here, and it just went to yellow. So it went to yellow at what moment? 7 seconds into the video. And so we have a yellow cab passing by, and because the light had just turned yellow, it made sense for this car to go through. They had a point of no return issue. And then we're now 9 seconds into the video, and we know these yellow lights are on for about 3 seconds, maybe 4, somewhere between there, 3, closer to 3 than 4. And now we're 11 seconds into the video, so it's 4 seconds, right? And Victoria Taxi is going through, and it's a red light. They could have totally waited for that light. The only reason they are going through is probably because they're speeding. They're trying to catch the next light. I don't know, maybe they've got a fare waiting for them, but we have to make sure that we're watching out for these drivers here. So let's go back. And there they go. And then we have this blue car going through 13 seconds into the video. So the light went to yellow 6 seconds ago, and now our light is green, their light is red, and here they are in the middle of the intersection. And we were about to enter the intersection. This is where I'm asking the student, did you see that blue car coming through? And they're like, nope, right? And it's like, if you don't scan, imagine if we left a bit sooner or a little bit quicker, we could have had a T-bone at the intersection. So just coming back here again, reading what is happening here. And I find sometimes when it's dark or it's quiet on the roads, people get a false sense of security that, okay, it's less busy, so it's safer. It's not quite the case, right? You can have bad drivers on the road any time of day. When you're first learning to drive, sometimes students want to practice in the quieter times, and it makes sense. You don't want to go right into rush hour on your first lesson. It would be overwhelming. But if you're out practicing at quieter times, like early in the morning or later in the evening, just because the traffic has calmed down a bit doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't scan as much. So always be vigilant, right? Even if the light has been green for 20 seconds, doesn't necessarily mean that no one's going to try to run through the red light. So we once came to an intersection, our light was green for about 20 seconds, and just as we were about to, we had entered into the intersection, and the car noticed the light late, and they slammed on their brake, and they stopped mere inches from the driver door. And of course, this student was startled, and they broke down in tears. And the first thing they asked was, "What did I do? Did I do something wrong? What's happening?" Right? And so I said, "Well, technically, we didn't do anything wrong because we had the green light, but it is our obligation to make sure that we're scanning the intersection." Now, it was a bit of a blind corner. there was a building there. So in all fairness, it was hard to see what's going on until we were already in the intersection. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to like come to a screeching halt every time we have an intersection just to check, right? And this is what I find happens a lot with foreign drivers that are coming here to convert their licenses. We'll get to intersections, and every intersection, whether it's a green light or not, they want to hit the brake. They want to slow down. And we're constantly saying, hey, let's not make any unnecessary stops or unnecessarily slowing down. And they're like, well, in back where I come from, if I don't do this, I'm gonna get hit because people don't exercise the care that the drivers here. So long story short, there is a fine line again in driving. I'm scanning going through the intersections, right? But there is a bit of trust. There's a bit of trust that most people are going to be doing the right thing, but I'm going to verify. So I trust and I verify. I'm maintaining my speed, so I'm predictable to the car behind me if it's a green light, but I am looking to make sure that no one's doing something abrupt or someone is, like in this case, just blatantly going through red light. Now, the other reason we scan is to make sure there are no ambulances coming through, no emergency vehicles, fire, police, they're on the road, and 1 second they don't have an emergency, the next second they're responding to an emergency. So we have to be on the lookout for those things too. So the takeaway from this video is don't be in tunnel vision. It's never a good idea just to stare in front of you, right? When you're behind the wheel, you need to be present. You need to be scanning. Even if you're planning on driving for the next 20 blocks in a straight line, you got to keep those eyes moving. You need to check your side mirrors. You need to look to the left, look to the right, read body languages of pedestrians. And when you're coming up to an intersection, scan the intersection, right? Keep those eyes moving. Now, that is not to say we need to be like doing a shoulder check every time we're coming to an intersection, but from further back, we're scanning wider to see what is happening at that intersection. So I hope you learned something from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.